Hello everyone, welcome to a new devlog. It's a month later. I actually stuck to it, which is great. It's actually really good to do this because I'm going to keep up every month. Might not be the exact same day all the time, but it's good to have this kind of milestone. I've set, stuff I wanted to get and feature in the next devlog, and that's the stuff I've worked on. It wasn't perfect in terms of I finished a lot of the stuff. I also didn't finish some of it, and I worked on some other things. I'm a solo developer, so I kind of just I go with the flow. I try to make sure I'm not like burning myself out by I don't want to force myself to do anything if I'm like not feeling it on that day. So I'll kind of go over what I'm going to show today. The core of it is I want to kind of display and show off what I have for the Bobos, like the customization of them, and just kind of highlight that in general, since I didn't do that too much in the last one. So the big thing is the Bobo showroom. I'm going to show that scene, which I'm in right now, and kind of go over stuff like all of their data, but especially their appearance stuff like colors and patterns and eyes, all that sort of thing. So this is the Bobo showroom editor. This is not going to be in the game. This is just a scene I come to kind of code and plan anything out I need to in terms of what I feel like needs to be in the game or needs to be customized with them. So it's just, I don't have to like open up a random scene. This is just here. And also it provides a really great way to do, so hit play right here. It's a good way to do. It might take a little bit. I might skip it if it takes too long because Unity is a pain. Oh no, okay, it's pretty fast. So I have an error because I'm too lazy to change it. This is basically just the prefab of the general Bobo in the game, but it has code on it that is relying on pathfinding like nav mesh, and there's not a nav mesh in this scene, so I have an error that ran. But I have this little turntable that kind of comes through and animate, and I can play other animations in here. So it's good for marketing. I can get tweets or GIFs or TikTok recordings in here. It's a good way to do that. Oh, and you can showcase the new. Yeah, it might be good first thing to talk about. So something I added this month was this little jitter effect. So the eyes and stuff have always looked like this, but I added this little fun thing which allows basically. Oh, and you can see blinking too. Oh yeah, I forgot about. I'm forgetting things I've done. So you got blinking animation, which is great. I think it looks pretty solid. I'm not an animator, but I think that one turned out okay. And then you have this like jitter effect. It's like a hand-drawn thing that happens to anything on the face. I'm not fully. I don't know if I'm gonna do that to the blush lines yet. So I'll see. But yeah, this game view kind of just rotates it around. It's pretty nice. So I want to start on the right. So right now I have this Bobo class. This is basically how every Bobo is made. Is a Bobo class, and that's what's saved. That's what loaded. You find a new Bobo in the forest. It makes a new class fully. So it's the general stuff like the name. This one's Whelp, and their ID number. This one doesn't have an ID because it's in this scene, but that allows me to, find different Bobos for specific things. So instead of looking for names, because names can be duplicated, IDs aren't duplicated. That is basically a number that keeps going up with every new Bobo that's created. And then a total grade. So this is kind of what we saw in the last devlog. Open up stats here. These are all the stats. So strength, agility, all that. Total grade is this influences basically the potential of each stat. So the system for how I'm doing these is a bit different than Chao. I've used to Chao, and I want to bring up Chao a lot just because it's clearly inspired by it, and kind of the changes that I'm doing to it. And any of this can change at any time, but this is the current way I'm doing it, and I think it'll work. But you have a total grade, and basically any Bobo you find in the forest will be grade E, and this right here is their potential. So they can have 4 basically potential points. So every grade is a value. So like E is 0 and D is 1. So if I change strength to D, now this is at 1 out of 4. So you have up to 4 in grade E. That moves to 12 if you have D. All right. So now, right now, this grade E agility only goes up to 1,000. But since this is D for strength, it actually goes to 3,000. Makes sense? So now this is at, let's say, max it out 3,000, and this goes up to C. You have room to play with. So it's something that I don't want people to really necessarily worry about when they're playing. I kind of want people to just upgrade their Bobo and try to get them to the max they can. And this stuff is just a balance thing. So it allows for, I don't want it to happen very often where like you're facing a so-called bad Bobo in a competition, but then they're actually like S ranked in one of the stats, and their stats are all the way up. So the old way I did it for like last year's video, it was terrible and not the way I should have been doing it. And I didn't figure that out until I worked this system in. So it's kind of a combination of the Chao system and a couple of new things. So this right here, I can't show anything here right now because it doesn't do anything in here. It's just a read. You just read it in the inspector. But basically, there's so many stuff that you can do that will increase this to 100. And once it breaks 100, it'll go to the next one. And then once you max out at 4, you can't go any further. And that's when this needs to go up before you can get more potential than anything else. Okay. I want to kind of cover this as much as I can, just to see if I can make this easy to explain, because I need to be able to explain it in the game so it's not too confusing. But at the same time, Chao didn't explain anything, and people figure that out just with wikis, so who knows. But yeah, so that's how that works. I guess the only thing I can mention right now is like with the aging, that's going to be something when you age up, that's when this total grade, it's basically in evolution, this will go up and allow you to have more potential. So yeah, and then yeah, so this stuff right now, like one thing I know of is like when you do competitions. So if you do like competition that was like strong or like a lot of swimming, then this swim grade potential might go up a little bit, and you might be closer to D. So that's stats. I don't want to cover that. It's already a long video, I can already tell. So then we'll go to, I guess, yeah, body emotions we can show. So we have luck intelligence, so everybody should know of that. That's not going to be viewable in the game. It's very similar to Chao. This is going to be a hidden thing. And I'm doing it a different way. It's kind of weird. Chao did a lot of really interesting stuff of like, some of these things were like maxed out at 1,000. This one was 1. This one was 100,000. Everything is just 0 to 1 pretty much. I don't know why you wouldn't do that. Just makes it easy to kind of make sure everything is in line. But luck starts out at 0.5. So it's basically like if you ever have a luck chance, like a roll, it'll always be 50% as a baseline. But then based on things that happen during the day or whatever, it goes up and down. So a certain thing I'll show later is you can trip now. They can trip like when they're running, and it checks luck first. And basically, if their luck is high, it won't even trip at all. And then if let's say they do trip, it'll check their agility, and that will check against that too. So you can possibly just skip all of the trips. So I'll show that later. And then yeah, hunger energy, that does nothing now. So this is basically just visual, doesn't have anything. And then we have the mood. So I don't want to show this too much because there's a lot more to do. I wanted to kind of get more done by the devlog, but I think it's fine. It became more work than I thought, because I thought I was just gonna do some simple like particle effects, but I ended up just adding the whole like emotion and mood system. Not everything is done, but I spent a lot of time making sure it worked for some of the future ideas I have too. There's a big feature that will be in the game that I needed this for, this kind of system. That's nothing now. You can't see it. It's in the code, but we have some simple stuff of like, their joy is high, they'll be ecstatic. Depressed if your sadness is high. I have to work out exactly what triggers each mood. Right now it's kind of just checks the numbers, but it's not consistent. Like this makes sense. I think if like, if sadness is at 1, it should be depressed, but yeah, you can kind of play around with this and see how things change. But uncomfortable is because like disgust is high. So these are like the 4, 6 base emotions that just humans feel. So I use that as a baseline. Chat is something similar. And the moods will influence a lot. So moods can influence things visually, but also pretty much all of them actually modify like your stats. So if you're ecstatic, your Bobo will actually get like a couple % boost in all of their stats. And that goes over the max. So like we showed before where you have this 3,000, if you get a boost in jump, it actually pushes it past that. And that works too for if you're like S tier and you're all the way at the max points, it'll go beyond that. So it allows for, just more like variability in the actual competitions. So even if on paper, like your Bobo is better than someone else, or whatever, like another Bobo is better than your Bobo, if your Bobo is in a great mood and has a really amazing trait, which we'll get into later, uh, then it might win just because of how things work out. So I want to make that stuff clear and fun, and actually like really be important and matter when you're kind of caring for your Bobo. So that's that. That's boring stuff. This is the exciting part. So we have the appearance stuff. I worry about showing this sometimes because like I want things to be kind of like a secret. But I have to be aware that this is a devlog. Not everyone's gonna view this, so and I'm still hiding some stuff, but I'll be able to show some of this. So we have their colors. So obviously we have light green is right now. Here's all the colors. There will be species in the game. So there are 5 species currently. As an equivalent to Chao, that is like the alignment type. So neutral, hero, dark. In this game there is plant, which is the normal, the neutral, phantom, and fairy. And there's 2 more that 100% they'll be there on launch. There might be more, but right now I'm just planning on these 5. I'm not announcing those other 2 yet. And they all have their own stuff. So they all like the plant will be limited to the colors it can be. But with mashing, you can get there. So I'll talk about that. But let's say like plant can be the greens and the limes and stuff. But yeah, you have these colors to pick from, and secondary color is these kind of highlights. So you just change any of them. Kind of cool. Let's do like I don't know, violet, sure. And you know what? Blue. Just a solid blue. For them, the eyes right here. We can make that like a orange or light orange. So the eyes are very different than the eyes in Chao. I very much wanted to kind of do an anime look. That's not anime, but you know, spend more time on the eyes. So eyes, the color of your eyes is a big thing. So you also have certain options, not all of them. And then we have patterns. So to the side, an arm right here. I just have 2 right now, and these are not final. I mean, you can tell like the UVing is awful up there, so that will change. But we have that, and then we have a head thing. It's basically like you can see. Oops. Go below, like that. Kind of gives. They're just basically they're disconnected, so you can kind of combine. So basically, there's 3 different patterns you can pick from for body, head, and arms and legs, and will allow you to mix and match and have some pretty unique looking patterns. And then blush is a new thing I just added 2 days ago. I know I wanted blush lines just because I like them and I think they're cute. And this is like the Kirby look. And originally I was just gonna do 1, but I had so many ideas, this many to be exact, that I was like, let's just add all of them and make it a pattern. So I'm not gonna show all of them, but here's some examples of some. There's a couple of hearts, but that's a cool one. So that's that. And all of these things and the Sheens, which we'll get to, are going to be, they all have genotypes, they're genes. So when you mash 2 Bobos together, there'll be certain ones that are just, all right, it's going to take 1 from the parent every time. So basically for like meshes, and because we're going to have the idea of species, and then per species there's going to be types. So like you have swim type and all of those. Like that's all happening. It's a bit different in how I'm doing it, but rest assured there's going to be, well, really there's going to be way more combinations of Bobos than there are word Chao in Chao Garden. There's a lot. Just the way I'm doing things, and I'll kind of show how that works. When we get to that point with new meshes, I'm kind of just getting all the base stuff down, and then I'll add that in. But with the meshes, it kind of just picks 1 from the parent. But like colors and patterns and Sheens, it actually has, we have genotypes. So I won't go into that. Maybe I'll put like a picture on the screen of how that looks. But you basically have this concept of, you have, let's say you have the green for main color, and then from your parent, you actually have blue. And then the one you're mashing with is red and red. And it makes this square that it picks a random one of those squares. So the child of this mashing can take the green color, which is great, but it also still has that secondary, these two colors that is still in its system, that even if you might at a later point mash two green Bobos, they're both green, you might get a red Bobo because one of the, I think, alleles are red. So that all works. I actually have that system working. You see it here, right here, Bobo breeder. But I wanted to make it work in the garden and like visually before I show that off, because it's not that exciting just in the inspector. So at a later time, maybe next devlog, I'll be able to have that ready and show how that works. But all that stuff works with mashing. I think it's pretty cool. And then we have basically these sheens. So I call them sheens. I don't know what else to call them, but it allows you to have stuff like the metal Bobo or a shiny one. See this shiny glittery look, which is kind of neat. And then you can also have glow, which if I turn the lights off, you can tell it is. It's an emissive material, so they'll kind of glow in the dark. And then transparency is also there. So all these things can be combined too, so you can have like a metal glow and transparent. I don't know if I want to reveal how you can get these. You know it's possible, but I'll hide how that's actually received later. And then finally we have scale. So this is also going to be part of so there's going to be the concept of the different meshes, right? And then your mesh and your Bobo will change their look as they age based on kind of their stats and stuff. We also have this base system of I wanted randomization of just the base look. So I have this way of kind of affecting these bigger body parts and just making sure every Bobo is slightly different. The max and min of these, I don't know if it's going to change or how much it's going to change, but right now this is how it is. And that's it. That's customization right now. I thought it was kind of cool. This little thing I made in the inspector helps me make them. All this stuff is done in code, so I never have to actually do that. It's all randomly generated when new Bobos are created. But this way I can test stuff. So if I want to test anything in particular, I can. And yeah, the meshes, and we'll go into that. It's already a long video, so not enough time to go into all that. But I guess the base thing I think is pretty cool is basically everything that's being done is just one material. It doesn't actually duplicate it or have an instance of it for each Bobo. If you have 10 Bobos that are all of the plant type, so there's 5 types, remember? There's only one material for the body and one material for the eyes for each type. So there's 5 types, 5 materials. All the different meshes will still use the same materials, but if you have 10 of plant, or whatever I end up calling it, they're all the same. So it's using vertex colors and UV, like moving the UVs. I'm using like every single UV set I can to do this. People are interested, I can show off how like the shader works and how it works and how I do it in the code. But yeah, it's all like moving the UV around and checking the vertex colors to do certain things with the sheen, especially. And then yeah, all the colors in the primary. It's all just a shader. It's one material, which I think is pretty cool that I got that working. And lastly, I have kind of just these buttons. I can easily randomize the name, stats, just for the inspector. But I can click this a couple times to kind of show you some different Bobo examples. So yeah, like I said, sometimes I get combinations of the scales that I'm like, I don't think that works, but that's fine. I can just increase, decrease as time goes on. But let me know if you like that. I think it's just a fun way of everyone will be kind of different, even if they're the same shape. And there's gonna be way more differences, but that's like a base one. Even if you have 2 of the exact same type and species and color, they can still look a lot different because the scales. So that's that. I feel like that might be enough for just that's a long ass video. All right, I think that'll be it. I'm actually gonna showcase some other stuff in other videos. Just that maybe like one other. I know I post shorts on YouTube, so if you see those on your phone, let me know how you like those. But I think for some of the particle effects, I'll either show them in the next video, or I'll just leave that to like the short video I post maybe in between this next month. But it's a couple of just like animation stuff that you can check out. But I think that's kind of what I want to showcase for this video. Thank you so much. And don't forget to wishlist on Steam if this is the first time seeing the video. Thanks. See you next month.